Niravidyata Shishno Vai Rajanandamritatinah Upasta Asit Kamanam Priyam Tat Ubayashrayam Niravidyata Shishno Vai Raja Anandamritatinah Upasta Asit Kamanam Priyam Tat Ubayashrayam
Niravidyata Shishno Vai Rajanandamritatinah Upasta Sit Kamanam Priyam Tarupayashrayam
Niravidyata Shishno Vai Rajanandamritatinah Upastasit Kamanam Priyam Tat Upashrayam
Niravidyata Shishno Vai Rajanandamritatinah Upasta Asit Kamanam Priyam Tat Upayashrayam
Translation of Divine Grace of Prabhu. Thereupon, for sexual pleasure, begetting offsprings and tasting heavenly nectar, Lord developed the genitals. First, that is genital organ, and his controlling deity, Prajapati. The object of sex pleasure and the controlling deity are under the control of the genitals of the Lord. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. The heavenly pleasure for the conditioned soul is sexual pleasure. And this pleasure is tasted by the genitals. Woman is the object of sexual pleasure, and both the sense perception of sexual pleasure and woman are controlled by the Prajapati, who is under the control of Lord's genitals. The impersonalist must know from this verse that the Lord is not impersonal, for he has his genitals, on which all the pleasurable objects of sex depend. No one would have taken the trouble to maintain children if there were no taste of heavenly nectar by means of sexual intercourse. This material world is created to give the conditioned souls a chance for rejuvenation, for going back home, back to Godhead. Therefore, generation of living being necessary upkeep of the purpose of creation. Sexual pleasure is an impetus of such action. And as such, no one even served the Lord in the act of such sexual pleasure. The service is counted when children born of such sexual pleasure are properly trained in God's consciousness. The whole idea of material creation is to revive the dormant God consciousness of the living entity. In forms of life other than human form, sexual pleasure is prominent without any motive of service for the mission of the Lord. But in the human form of life, conditioned soul can render service to the Lord by creating progeny suitable for the attainment of salvation. One can beget hundreds of children and enjoy the celestial pleasure of sexual intercourse, provided he is able to train the children of God consciousness. Otherwise, begetting children is on the level of swine. Rather, the swine is more expert than the human being, because the swine can beget dozen piglets at a time, whereas a human being can give birth only one at a time. So one should always remember that the genital sex pleasure, woman and offsprings are all related in the service of the Lord. One who forgets his relationship in the service of the Supreme Lord becomes subject to the threefold miseries of material existence with laws of nature. Perception of sexual pleasure is that even in the body of the dog, but there is no sense of God consciousness. The human form of life is distinct from that of the dog by the perception of God consciousness. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamyam Dadati Swapadantikam Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Giri Yatkripa Tamam Shri Guru Dinataya Paramanandam Chaitanya Ishwaram Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimade Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Charini Nirvishesha Shunyamani Paschatya Deshatarani Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gauravakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram see a little bit from this verse, Srimad Bhagavatam, and also deliberate a little bit on Lord Balaram, during the period stay of Lord Balaram. So this verse, continuing from a series of verses in this chapter, talks about how the Supreme Lord manifests His universal form. So this is an answer to the question by Maharaj Parikshit to Shukadeva Goswami. So he was asking about the universal form of Krishna, the Virat Rupa. So here we see that how the Supreme Lord is actually manifesting His universal form. He is bringing forth different demigods for different purposes of administration of this universe. And then we saw how He manifests different senses. So initially it was mentioned in the the beginning of this chapter that everything is to be seen from Adhyatmika, Adidevika, Adibhautika aspects. So including the creation. So the Lord, of course the Lord is completely perfect. He has His spiritual form. But for the purpose of creation, He also manifests His universal form, the Virat Rupa. So in which all the demigods are there and all the different aspects of management of this entire creation is taken care. Both creation, maintenance and also destruction. And the past, present and future. So it's all assimilated into the body of this universal form of the Lord. And as long as material creation is there, the universal form is there. But as soon as material creation is dissolved by the destruction, the universal form also disappears. So it is a temporary manifestation of the Lord for the purpose of the creation, administration and also destruction. And He brings forth different demigods for the purpose of creation. So we saw how He manifested His arms, He manifested His eyes, His tongue, His sense of speech, sense of touch, everything. And He first senses are manifesting, then the predominating deity of the senses, and then the sense objects. All of them are manifested. So here we see the manifestation of the sense of genitals. It's one of the karma indriyas, genitals. And then He also, the Adi Devika aspect of it, the Prajapatis are also created, and also sense objects are created for that. So this is a very important purport, especially Srila Prabhupada is talking in length about the sense object of genitals and how it has to be used, what is its purpose, and how one can use it also in service of Krishna achieves perfection. So we read from different places. Prabhupada also quotes from Sri Rupa Goswami. He says that Rishikena Sevana Bhakti Ruchite. So what is bhakti? What is the devotional service? Devotional service is using the senses in order to serve the senses of the Supreme Lord. So that is what is real bhakti. So this is a sense, the sense of genitals is something that is very bewildering, and it is one of the most misused senses. And so it is thought to be the whole purpose of Prabhupada mentions, even the Bhagavad Gita, or Krishna mentions that, so they think in the 16th chapter, Krishna mentions that the demons, they think everything is coming forth in this world due to the sexual impulse. So it is all appearing by chance, all appearing by one's desire. Desire is the cause of whole manifestation. So this is a very powerful sense organ and powerful potency that is invested upon the Supreme Lord is bringing forth as a part of the universal form and is providing this opportunity. Because everybody in this material world, they have come here in the material world because they wanted some sense gratification. So they wanted to independently enjoy away from Krishna. So Krishna manifests all the senses and good sense objects and good taste, very palatable dishes for the sense of eating and nice music and for all the Shabda, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, all the sense objects are manifested so that the living entity will get bewildered and he can exist and he can continue and thrive forgetting the Supreme Lord. Mm-hmm. All the sense objects are created for making us get bewildered and get lost in this creation of the world. But whereas the Supreme Lord and his great acharyas and his great devotees who also come here time and again, they come and reiterate the same information, the same lessons, and they make it very nice and very easy for the creators. To do bhakti, you don't have to renounce everything. Rather, you have to engage everything in Krishna's service. Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yukta Vairagya Uchite. So, engage, not disengage. Engage everything in Krishna's service. And that way, we become delivered. That becomes this, it's like this, Prabhupada gives an example of a knife. A knife can be used to cut something. It can even use to harm yourself. But it can also be used to cut vegetables and make nice dishes for the Supreme Lord. So, everything has dual purpose in this world. There's always a duality. There's a good, there's bad in each and everything. And same thing applies even to the sense objects and all the senses and the everything that Lord has created. So it can be used for bewildering ourselves and continuing our existence in the material world, or it can be used to deliver ourselves and continue the path of approaching the Supreme Lord and become his devotee. So Prabhupada is going to great length to explain about how the genitals can be used in bringing forth nice offsprings and train them to become devotees of Krishna. So we have seen many examples of that in the Bhagavatam. So there are so many great examples, and also from the recent past we have seen the appearance of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, who is called as the Simha Guru and ray of Vishnu. So his father wanted a ray of Vishnu. He prayed for the ray of Vishnu, and he did a lot of prayers and tapasya for the purpose of create wonderful sons like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. So he even mentioned that I'm ready to engage in this act of intercourse many millions of times if I can bring forth millions of great devotees of Krishna. So that was the desire, or that was the intent with which great devotees have shown us how to use this sense also for the perfection of our consciousness. So many great examples also there from Bhagavatam. You see Prahlad Maharaj was also there. So although Kashyapa Muni and Diti, so they had an intercourse at a very wrong time, and they were Kashyapa Muni said that because of this choice of yours, you're going to get two great demons as your sons, and they're going to wreak havoc in this whole universe. So everybody is going to suffer because of this desire of yours. But Diti was very dependent on what she desired and what was the outcome. So she prayed to Kashyapa Muni. Kashyapa Muni blessed her, but your grandchildren will be very great devotee. Prahlad Maharaj would come as the son of Hiranyakashipu, would be very great devotee. So this we see. There are many other examples in Bhagavatam. Would you like to say some examples, some devotees?
Examples of devotees?
Devotees who are brought forth the purpose of a specific purpose of serving Krishna.
Was Bali Maharaj's Plad's grandson? He wasn't his son, right?
Bali Maharaj is his grandson, yes.
His grandson. So there's
Great
two of them, right, in the family of the Asuras.
Right. Bali Maharaj was a great devotee. But he didn't really appear for any specific purpose, so it was not an intentional by his father. Yes. So any other example, I'm looking for an example
where there was an intention.
Paramuni,
very nice example. Yes. Any other examples?
What about the Shabbat? I mean, in good character, that you devoted and you give.
Right. Was there any intent there on part of his parents? I doubt.
Yeah, they wanted
It just happened to be a plenary portion of Krishna. Yeah, that's a good example. So Mother Aditi also wanted. So she wanted the Lord as her son. So came Vamanadev. So Vamanadev was appeared because he had to get the whole three worlds away from the clutches of Bali Maharaj. So as Bali Maharaj was indirectly responsible for appearance of Vamanadev also. So that is a very good example. And any other example apart from that?
well, not exactly, but Prithu Maharaj was brought about by the Brahmins from the body of his father.
Right. That's a good example. Yeah.
His father didn't necessarily want to bring about an incarnation of the Lord, but he had the karma there from his father, the grandfather.
It's a good example. So I would like to stop here on this particular verse and then talk a little bit about Lord Balaram. So Lord Balaram is a very special expansion of Krishna. As we see, especially from the Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas, so they have brought a lot of clarity in the different aspects of Krishna. So the whole Panchatattva, so starting with Krishna, Panchatattva become Krishna, Bhakta Rupa Surabhakam, Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. So Panchatattva become Krishna. So Krishna has 5 different aspects. So Krishna himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the reservoir of pleasure and the enjoyer of everything. That is Krishna. So what is Krishna without his objects of enjoyment? So living entities or his objects of enjoyment, they are meant to serve him. And they are also part and parcel of him. So there is something called as Swamsha and Vibhinamsha. Swamsha means Lord's own forms. And Vibhinamsha means separated forms. Those are living entities. Living entities are part and parcel of Krishna. They are one with Krishna in one aspect, but they are separated. They are always separated. So they call it Vibhinamsha. Vibhina means they are always separated. So Swamsha includes these 5 different aspects. Last one is Jiva Tattva, or the Lord Krishna Tattva, then Balaram Tattva, then comes the Mahavishnu Tattva, on Lord Shiva is also included in that. And then Shakti Tattva, and finally Jiva Tattva. So all these are 5 different aspects of Krishna. And so the second, as we know, is Balaram Tattva, the separate Tattva by itself. So it's very interesting to understand why would Krishna do this. So why would Krishna make an expansion of himself, and why would have him as a source of many other incarnations, which is going to come later, the expansions. So Krishna has his own purpose. So Krishna is an enjoyer. Sarvam Akarshati Iti Krishna. So he's the enjoyer of everything. So he definitely wants to manifest his different aspects so that he can simultaneously do different things, yet simultaneously be different and also simultaneously be the same. So that is beauty. So Krishna manifested these 5 different aspects. So Balaram is in the first expansion of Krishna. So Balaram is the potency. Or Krishna has external energy and internal energy. So external energy, we know, has 3 different aspects. The Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna. The internal energy has 3 different aspects too. So namely Samvit, Sandhini and Pradini. So this Samvit and Sandhini aspects of his internal potency is represented by Lord Balaram. And the Hadini aspect of his internal potency is representation of Srimati Radharani. So Lord Balaram is his own expansion, whereas Srimati Radharani is a Shakti. So she is manifestation of Krishna's energy, whereas Balaram is Vishnu Tattva himself. He is the replica of the Supreme Lord. And so Lord Balaram, yesterday Mata was going in very great detail, and she was explaining how the Lord Balaram is the embodiment of Sakhya Rasa, the friendship, the mood of friendship, and how it can have 2 different extremes. So one is an extreme of the bordering Vatsalya and bordering Madhurya also sometimes. So Vatsalya Rasa, parenthood, that is Lord Balaram. So Lord Balaram manifests the Sankhya Rasa, but also a little bit of the parental aspects of his relationship. So he controls the Supreme Lord as Krishna, as Balaram is the elder brother. So sometimes he also goes to the other extreme of Dasya, Sankhya bordering Dasya, like Laxmana, for example. So Lakshmana as a brother, younger brother of Lord Rama. So he is completely devoted to his brother, and he is willing to be an order carrier and willing to be a servant, a menial servant. He left his wife in the palace of Ayodhya, and then he came following his brother. And in every moment he was like a shadow. He was completely doing service to him, dedicated his whole life for him. So that is Lakshmana. That is another extreme of how the Lord can take that Dasya Rasa also, although being in a mode of friendship. And the other extreme, Lord Balaram, is quite very interesting in that relationship. The Lord is manifesting. Sometimes he is in the mood of his parent and is teaching him, controlling him. But many times he takes a very opposite position from Lord Krishna. And that the whole thing is actually to make the whole Leela of Krishna very interesting. So Krishna sometimes needs his opposite. So that there is some other kind of relationship where there is argument and there is sometimes plot. So Krishna also plots, like the case of his sister marrying Arjuna, Subhadra. So when Lord Balarama wanted to give Subhadra to Duryodhana, so whereas Lord Krishna did not want that to happen. Lord Krishna wanted Subhadra to marry to Arjuna. So he knew the plan of Lord Balaram. So he already devised a plan to have Subhadra kidnapped by Arjuna and then have her married. So Duryodhana was really very angry when he learned the whole thing happened. And so he was almost in the mood of going and fighting with Arjuna. But Lord Krishna pacified him and then he settled the matter. The same thing. So many times we see Lord Balaram take an opposite position. So to make things more interesting. When it comes to Krishna's own desire, he does not do that. So So like Krishna wanted to go and take Rukmini. So Lord Balarama accompanied him, and then he fought with those, the brother of Rukmini, Rukma and others. Then he he disrespected them and helped in Krishna abducting Rukmini and marrying her. So in that case he helped. Of course, most of the time he helps, but sometimes he takes an opposite position. Like with respect to the Kauravas and Pandavas especially. So he takes an, he becomes the opposite. So he was more in favor of Duryodhana, and that's why he could not take a position in the whole Mahabharata war, because Krishna was on the other side. Krishna was choice made by Arjuna. So Arjuna and Duryodhana, both of them went to seek help from Krishna. And in one side was Krishna, another side was this Narayana Seva, Narayani army. And Duryodhana, he preferred the army instead of Krishna. Arjuna wanted Krishna. So when Krishna was obviously on Pandava's side, then Balarama did not want to explicitly take the other side. So it would be contradictory to his own role. Although he was in favor of Duryodhana for whatever reason. So, and then, so he took the opportunity to go on Tirtha Yatra, and he went on to different places of pilgrimage, and finally came at the end of Mahabharata war. So even in that time when he came at the end of Mahabharata war, he was still unequivocal. He was not taking sides, but he was internally kind of thinking Duryodhana, being his student, should win. And he knew that Duryodhana was his special student. And he always pleased Lord Balarama with very wonderful words. In fact, there is an whole 8 Ashtakam that he has sung about Lord Balarama. And it's called Rajastava, Balarama Rajastava. And very beautiful verses. And so Duryodhana was really a favorite student of Balarama. So at least in that, although the outcome of the war is totally different, but in that fight of mace, he definitely thought, okay, Duryodhana will win. And besides, Duryodhana also got his blessings of his mother, and he was completely invisible. And he was better in technique than Bhima. Although Bhima had a lot of strength on his side. But Duryodhana was extremely skilled, and he was very fast and agile as well. So he wanted to see the match, and he was not taking sides. But he thought Duryodhana would win. But Krishna had other plans, because Krishna always wants his devotees to win. And ultimately, so Bhima won the mace fight. And when Bhima hit Duryodhana under the hip, then Lord Balarama was extremely agitated. So he felt it was against the rules of the fight, the mace fight. So he was ready to even fight with Lord Bhima. And then again Krishna pacified, and everything was settled. So like that, Lord Balarama takes a lot of different times a different position than Lord Krishna to make the things more interesting, make the Leela more interesting. But in the childhood, of course, so they were an inseparable pair. So Lord Balarama, in fact, was born 1 year back before Krishna, and he was born as a son of Devaki. Although he was conceived by Devaki, he was removed from Devaki's womb, and he was put into the womb of Mother Rohini. So that's why he's Rohini Sutta, although he's also Devaki's Sutta. So he's both. So that was Krishna's arrangement. Because the 7th son of Devaki was definitely a very powerful son. Even Kamsa had an idea. So this 7th son seems to be all the omens that is surrounding me. They're all very bad omens. It looks like even the demigods are making some plans. Maybe it's the 7th son who is going to be my death. So he was very anxious. And it so happened that so Krishna desired that Lord Balarama is moved to Vrindavan. And Rohini, who is also a wife of Vasudeva. So the womb transfer happened from Devaki's womb to Rohini's womb. Lord Balarama was born very safely as son of Mother Rohini in Vrindavan, Braja, in Gokul. So, whereas it was found to be, it was said to be a miscarriage. So then Kamsa was relieved, but he was waiting for the next eventuality, which is inevitable, of Krishna's appearance. So Lord Balarama, being the Samvit and Sandini potency of the Lord, he is the one who comes first and makes arrangement for the Lord to appear. So he comes and purifies Mother Devaki's womb as coming as the Lord Balarama, and then he makes everything perfect for Lord Krishna's appearance. So that is the Lord Balaram's one of his duties. So being a servitor Lord, so he first makes sure everything is set perfect for Krishna's appearance. And that's why he is also called Akhanda Guru Tattva. So because he embodies all the spiritual masters. The spiritual master is a confidential servitor of Krishna, and is an expert in arranging for Krishna's pastimes. So Lord Balarama takes that potency. That's what there's a potency called Samvit. Samvit means he becomes the substratum of Krishna's Leela. So he becomes Krishna's Paduka, his shoes. He becomes Krishna's Adishesha, his bed. He becomes everything for Krishna. In fact, the whole Rajadama is actually a manifestation of Lord Balarama. So Lord Krishna would not step anywhere where Lord Balarama has not appeared before. So he would make everything perfect for Lord Krishna's appearance. So including his personal paraphernalia that Lord Krishna uses, it's all a manifestation of Lord Balarama. So that is Samvit potency of Krishna. And Sandini potency of Krishna is the knowledge potency, in which the Lord, nobody can understand Krishna without Lord Balarama's mercy. So there are so many people who saw Krishna, Krishna appear, they did not have even a little understanding that Lord Krishna was the Supreme Lord. So they thought Lord Krishna was another person, especially the demons. So it only requires the mercy of the Lord Balarama. That's a Sandini potency of Krishna. So that is required not for anybody to surrender to Krishna, to even understand him, a little bit about him. So we saw from the pastime of Nityananda Prabhu and Raghunath Das Goswami how Nityananda Prabhu is very clearly mentioning that you're becoming a thief, trying to approach Krishna, approach Gauranga Mahaprabhu without me, without coming through me. Because I am the Adi Guru, I am the Akhanda Guru Tattva. And everyone has to come through me, has to surrender to me, and I give them mercy so that they can understand Krishna. So it is inseparable. Krishna and Balarama, they are inseparable. And usually you don't find so that is the Samvit and Sandini potency of Balarama. That is the potency of Krishna manifested by Lord Balarama. So it is very important to understand that Lord Balaram is the via media for us to understand Krishna and also to approach him. So spiritual master is actually a representation of Lord Balaram. So it's very important to understand this aspect of Balaram. And usually we don't see Lord Balaram worshipped separately from Krishna. So even in India you will not find many temples for Lord Balaram. I have not even seen one temple. There's only one temple in the Udupi. So where Lord Balaram's separate temple is there. So in fact, so it happened that so actually Lord Balaram first came in the dream of Madhvacharya, and then he told him that tomorrow this whole pastime of how the idol of deity of Krishna and Balaram, they were found from the ship in which a great merchant was traveling. So that came in a dream of Madhvacharya. So he knew that this would happen, so he was waiting for it. So he was meditating in the shores of the sea, Arabian Sea, and he was while he was meditating, so the ship was in distress. A very, very rich merchant. He was traveling from Gujarat to all the way to the south for doing some exchange for some business, and he had in the ship he had a very big stone. Actually said to be Gopi Chandana stone, and for the balancing the weights. So on one side he had all the goods to be sold for business, on the other side he had this weight in order to to balance the weight, he had this Gopi Chandana stone. He did not know, of course, what it was. It was a very heavy stone, let me use this. And it was all laid in the ship. But when the ship was in distress, then he was calling out for help. So Madhvacharya knew this would happen. So he, being the Vayudeva, being the god of wind, so he just waved his hand. The whole ship came to the shore with no effort. The ship was saved. The merchant was very grateful, and he asked, "What do you want? What can I do for you, my lord?" So you saved my life. You saved everything, all my property. So I should do something for you. So Madhvacharya knew this from his previous day's dream, and he just asked for the log, the Gopi Chandana stone. And then, as soon as nobody could lift the stone, and Madhvacharya himself lifted the stone, and he brought it. And as soon as he brought it down the ship, it broke open, and it showed two beautiful deities. So one was Lord Balaram, another was Lord Krishna. So we know about the Krishna story. So then Krishna was installed in the temple in the Udupi. But the Balarama deity was installed near to the beach itself. It's called Bhavandeshwar. It's called Bhavandeshwar. And he was installed right at the beach because he was so heavy to be lifted. And Madhvacharya thought, okay, it's best I carry one deity and keep Lord Balaram here. It was a desire of Lord Balaram, of course. So he deserved to be there. And it's a very, if you've seen the deity of Udupi, it's a very replica of this. So almost you will not find much difference between Lord Balaram and Lord Krishna. So they are very similar. And this is actually said to be a deity which was worshipped by Rukmini. So when Krishna was in Dwarka, so Rukmini, she wanted, when she heard the pastimes of Krishna in the childhood, she wanted a deity form which depicts Krishna as a childhood, as a small boy, a cowherd boy, who would have a stick in order to take care of the cows, herd the cows. So she wanted a deity like that. So Krishna ordered Vishwakarma to come and make a deity, exactly like that, how she described. And for that it is said that he himself became a cowherd boy for the Vishwakarma to make the deity. So this deity was actually made out of Shavigram. And so Lord Krishna and Balaram deities were made like that. It was worshipped by Rukmini. And when Dwarka was submerged, as soon as Lord Krishna left the Dwarka, he left to the supreme abode, and so the whole Dwarka became submerged in the sea. And so along with that was submerged this the deity of Krishna and Balaram. So somehow it surfaced back because the Lord wanted to be worshipped in the deity form. So the stone appeared, and then this businessman found the stone and put on the ship. The whole story was a very wonderful pastime of Krishna. And so that's only one place where I've seen Lord Balaram's separate temple. But otherwise, Lord Balaram is always worshipped with Krishna. Just like he's always, as Lakshmana, is always worshipped with Rama. So this whole pastime, it's a very beautiful pastime. Lord Balarama, whether he is Lord Balarama or as Lakshmana or as Adishesha, so he's always in the mood of serving Krishna. And he sometimes he's very short-tempered also, Lord Balaram. So that is very nicely manifested both in Lord Balaram's pastime as well as Lakshmana's pastime. So Lakshmana was known for his short temper. So even when Bharata, his brother, was coming to see Lord Rama, so Lakshmana spotted him from a distance, and he thought he is coming in order to fight with Rama, so that he can enjoy the kingdom unrivaled. Even after the 14 years of the staying in the forest, when he comes back, there should not be any rival. So maybe Bharata thought, so that I can fight with Lord Rama and finish him off with my army, and so that I can rule it forever. So Lakshmana thought like this. So he's coming to fight. So he was very quick to become angry. So because he's also a Shankarshana, so he's Adishesha. The snake is always known to be very angry. Before slightest provocation, bites. So Lord Lakshmana was also a very good example how he was very short-tempered. And Lord Balarama was also short-tempered. anyways. He was very angry for the smallest reasons. Like Romaharshana Sutta. So Romaharshana was appointed, was a disciple of Vyasadeva. He was appointed in order to speak all the Puranas for the sages to come and listen. And he was speaking all these Puranas very nicely. But when Lord Balarama made appearance there, so he decided that he would not get up in respect. And everybody got up in respect. Romaharshana he knew it was Lord Balarama, he knew he was coming. It was not that he was forgotten in the whole description of pastimes. He deliberately did not get up. Excuse me. So that is an offense. So even when somebody is speaking from Vyasasana, so one should definitely pay respects when the deity form is open, and he doesn't have to pay obeisance to anybody else except for one spiritual master. So if a spiritual master comes into that place, so it doesn't matter whether you are giving a class or a Srimad Bhagavatam class, doesn't matter. Or even if the deity room is open, the deities they're giving darshan, so you still pay obeisance to the spiritual master. And even if some other sannyasi comes, it's not necessary. If the deities are open, you don't have to pay obeisances. But if it is a spiritual master, definitely have to pay obeisances. And Lord Balarama is both the Supreme Lord as well as is a Adi Guru. So there is no reason why Romaharshana should be continue to speak. He should have paid obeisances, paid respects to Lord Balarama. But he did not. So that's why Lord Balarama, in order to show the proper etiquette, so he killed Romaharshana. But Romaharshana is a very qualified person. So he could speak in all the Puranas. And so all these sages were very disturbed. Oh my dear Lord, you killed Romaharshana, who was appointed for speaking all the Puranas. Now who will give all these Puranas to us, who will speak all these things to us? Then Lord Balarama, he appointed his son, Sutta, Romaharshana Sutta. And he became Sutta Goswami, who was hearing Shukadeva Goswami in his book, all his Bhagavatam and everything. So this is another important aspect. Lord Balarama does all these things as an multiplier of the Lord Krishna's intensity of the pastime, or sometimes in order to give a specific instruction. In this case of Romaharshana Sutta. So, and Lord Balarama also removes all the ignorance from the devotees. So he kills Dhenukasura for that purpose. So Dhenukasura is an embodiment of ignorance. And a spiritual master needs to remove the ignorance so that a devotee becomes attracted to the Supreme Lord. It's not serving to the Supreme Lord. So he kills Dhenukasura for that purpose. And he delivers Dhenukasura also. So in fact, if you see, all other asuras, they all come looking for Krishna. They come to the Vrindavana, they want to kill Krishna. But Dhenukasura did not come to kill Krishna. So he was there in his own place, and he was completely in ignorance. He was drinking the talaras, and he was happy in his own world. And he was serving Kamsa, of course. But he was in the mode of ignorance. So Lord Balarama, Krishna came there, and they delivered Dhenukasura. Delivered him from ignorance. So in the same way, so Krishna, Lord Balarama comes, and he comes as a representative of Krishna, as a spiritual master, in order to deliver the devotee of ignorance, so that he becomes qualified to be rendered service to Krishna. So I think we've spoken a little bit about Lord Balaram. We're going to see more today afternoon as well. So we'll stop here for any questions, anything on the Bhagavatam verse, or any comments on Lord Balaram. Yes, Prabhu.
One small thing, I just wanted some clarification. You said that the ship that came to Madhvacharya, that it was in the Arabian Sea. But I thought it was in the Indian Ocean. The Arabian Sea is on the other side, isn't it?
No, one side, left side is Arabian Sea, right side is Bay of Bengal. Indian Ocean is the south.
Okay, yeah. Okay, that's right.
Arabian Sea is on the left.
That's right.
Udupi is on the coast, the western coast.
Okay. Thank you.
Gujarat is also western coast. So Dwarka, the businessman was coming towards south. That's
Okay.
any comments? Any questions?
when you're talking in class and you're talking about the beautiful pastimes of Krishna and Balaram, what came to my mind was the one where they're picking sides to, the cowboys like to fight and wrestle and everything like that. And I think the losers, or the winners, the winners had to go on the backs of the losers. And what came to my mind was how Balaram was like on the back of Kulabasura. And even though, he took Balaram away from the whole situation, and then he showed his true form like that. But not because Balaram is Supreme Lord, possessive of all strength. But like you said, they become benedicted,
Yes.
they get killed by
This Prahlada was also killed by Balaram.
And the other thing I was thinking about, how you were talking about the anger issue. Maybe you can talk, maybe you know better than I do. I just remember the one that when Balaram was upset, and I don't remember who was there, but one of Krishna's sons, grandsons, and they didn't want to, they let the, they're on Hastinapur and they were
Yes.
Duryodhana and son.
Yeah, so Samba was a grandson of Krishna. So Samba, he went to the Swayamvar, or the, I don't know what you call it in English. Swayamvar is the girl picks the husband. Girl picks the suitable husband. So then he had gone to that event, and in front of everybody he decided to kidnap Laxmi. Her name was Laxmi. So she was the daughter of Duryodhana. So then the Kurus, they caught hold of him and they decided to imprison. Then all the Yadus, they became very angry and they wanted to fight with the Kurus. But Lord Balarama said, no, stop, wait. I will go and find a peaceful solution for this. So he goes and then he tries to talk peace with the Kurus. The Kurus are in a very high. So they decide, they insult him. They say that, I think Prabhu also mentioned yesterday, somebody was talking. So how come the footwear is coming to seek the place of the helmet? So you guys, you're not really having any adhikar, you don't have any, you cannot have a relationship with Kurus. Kurus, we are higher than the Yadus. So we cannot even think of like this. This is wrong to seek a relationship between Yadus and Kurus like this. So we are not going to accept this proposal. So then Lord Balarama becomes very angry. He doesn't reason with them, or he decides to just do his own thing. He goes and takes his plow and then tracks the whole city. Everybody's unsettled and whole earthquake happens. They all come to their senses and then they decide to come shelter of Lord Balarama. That's past it.
Balaram ki
Jai. Nrishimhadeva Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada.
Namaste.